everyone, here's Kali S from Kreatives Leben, and I love colors, as you can see here, and I love to bring color into the world. And today I want to do the second part of my series comparing modern versus vintage knitting. So last time I ranted a little bit about modern knitting, and today I'm going to say what I like about modern knitting. So if this is your thing, stay tuned and let's do this. So let's start with what I'm wearing. It's a very colorful, funky vest that I knitted myself, that I drafted myself, and it's based on Rico Design Essential Kid Mohair, Silk Kid Mohair, I think that's the name of the yarn, in this very neon green and neon pink. I'm a kid of the 80s, if you didn't know, now you know. And it's together with Lana Grossa Landlust Baumwolle, which is basically a cotton, which means I can wear it also in summer. And yeah, I hadn't wore this one for a long time, but it brings a smile on my face. I love it. Did I say everything about this knit? Yeah, I just drafted it. Maybe now I would put the heart a little bit lower, but you know, it's just a fun knit. I usually, that's why I haven't worn it for a long time. I usually would wear this in fall or spring with something underneath, but it feels perfect right now. I'm really surprised. So I didn't think about this. I just wore it because it fits my trousers. And yeah, so let's start. What do I like about modern knitting? Actually, I know I ranted a lot, I complained a lot, I said everything was so much better, you know, in the 80s and when I was young. The truth is in between. I think that I complained because I wanted to, you know, provoke everyone and also say that not everything was bad, you know. But I admit that there is one thing that I love is the globality of what we have right now. I love the fact that we have great community, we have availability, a variety of different yarns, and I love Ravelry. So those are the three things that I really like, and to be honest, it's all similar. So the first thing is Ravelry. I mean, I don't know, when I started knitting, I didn't go immediately onto YouTube, but I remember some of the first YouTube videos I watched about knitting, and they were all talking about, oh, you can check on Ravelry, and I found this on Ravelry. And first I didn't understand it until I just clicked on one of the link that was provided under the video, and I went, oh, what is this? I mean, I know not everyone loves Ravelry, but I love it. I mean, my German me loves Ravelry just because of the neatness of, I have all my projects on there. For example, today I'm knitting 3 different projects at the same time, which I usually don't do. I'm very monogamous usually when I knit, but in this case I'm knitting three different projects, and I was going, oh, what size am I knitting? Went onto Ravelry, checked, it said L, and then I knew what I had to do. And I think it's amazing. Of course, you can have your little notebook, and lots of people have them. Great for you. I love my apps. I love, well, it's not a proper app per se, but you know, I love the website. I just go there at least 10 times a day. I don't know. I enter everything. I try to enter my stashes as well, even my gauge swatches if I think about it. So I have such a great ability to just track what I've been doing. But more than, so this, the project side of stuff, and you know, queuing everything, so the whole process basically. I mean, Ravelry is great. You don't know nothing about what you want to knit. You know, you want to knit, for example, a vest like I'm wearing right now, and then you start searching, and you can go down the rabbit hole. I'm sure you've done that before. You start and then you see this, this new pattern. You haven't seen this one. Oh, this is great. I mean, the opportunities that it gives you as a knitter is just amazing. And the variety, you know, if you like it funky, if you like it more, you know, very severe, if you, it's for everyone. And that's something I really love. I mean, that didn't exist. The reason I very often change patterns or adapt patterns is because I'm used to just knitting whatever I want and then making it up in my mind. And of course, sometimes I would buy a pattern, but they would be in magazines and you would have to buy the whole magazines and you didn't always know if you would like it. And so that's my history. So that's why I just draft sometimes. But what it has opened up, and learning about the different types of knittings and the different swatch, the different stitch patterns, and I just love that. I just love what Ravelry has brought to the knitting world. You know, that's me. I don't know about you, but Ravelry is just great. And seeing also what others are doing with the pattern, because sometimes you like a pattern but you go, I don't like how you know, the sleeves or the cuffs or whatever, one part of your garment, and then you go onto Ravelry, you look at what other people have done, what colors they've used, what changes they've made. I think this is amazing. Yeah. Ravelry, I'm a big fan for the pattern, for, you know, so basically I look at patterns onto Ravelry and then I make it a favorite if I like it, and then I put it on my queue, which I really like. I love looking at my queue and reassessing and changing and saying, oh, that's the next one I'm going to knit. And then project, you know, where you write down what yarns you're using, and if you want to know more about yarns, you're not quite sure what yarn to use, you can go back, you can check what others have used, you can look at the measurements of the yarn they are recommending compared to what you're using. I mean, I could go on, and maybe I do a own video about Ravelry, but you know, that for me is really the best thing about modern knitting. The best thing, by far. Then the second point is community. I mean, YouTube is a wealth of knowledge. I really love that. I learned to knit from my grandmother, and she was knitting English style. And then I went to Switzerland, I learned knitting Western style. And then I forgot about knitting, and then when I came back and had to do it myself, I somehow went into Eastern style without knowing, until I compared my knitting with my mother's knitting and I realized my stitches were not looking the same, and I didn't know that it was Eastern style. I said, oh, I learned it the wrong way, but it was so ingrained by then that I didn't change it. And now I know I'm knitting Eastern style, and I've seen the different styles, and I'm playing around a little bit with Western style as well. I'm not sure I'm going to go and use English style. You know, that might be for another, maybe in 1 or 2 years. But learning also recommendations, you know, for example, I always complained about holes in the sleeves. So you would create your body and then you would have the sleeves, especially if you knit in the rounds. And I would have big holes where I had cast on the additional stitches. And then someone on YouTube said, you know, just add 2 more and then knit them together in the next round. And since then, perfect. My sleeves are perfect. I'm very happy. So it's all the tips and tricks you learn. And what I like, there is tips and tricks for beginners, and there are tips and tricks for people like me that are more intermediate. I really love that. I love that there are also different generations online. I love looking at young knitters. I love looking at more experienced knitters. They have their different point of views, which I really appreciate. And this community is just amazing. And one example that I can add to this is I heard online on YouTube about the World Public Knitting Day. I think that's the correct name. That happens in June. And then I said to myself, oh, that would be great to organize something similar here where I live. I live in a little town. I think we have around 1,000 inhabitants, maybe more if you take like the bigger, all the different parts together, maybe it's 6,000. But where I live, I think we're max of 1,000 people. And then I thought, okay, let's try. And then, I did a shout out. I published it in different newspaper. And then we had 20 women coming together. And the youngest one was probably around 9, 10-ish. And the oldest one was probably 8-ish upwards. And I really love that. And since then we have set up a community. And I think maybe it existed before. But I remember this being more a family affair. I would go to school and we would speak about knitting, maybe in, when we had knitting classes, for example. But I don't remember meeting up with a friend. Maybe with one of my friends. I had a friend who also knitted, and I spun my wool when I was younger. We would do that together, but that was less common. At least I don't remember. I don't remember having those communities, and I feel that this is something that the modern world has brought to us, is the community, the global community. So people from, one of the viewers said, I'm from New Zealand and I'm in Germany. And I think that's amazing. And I'm meeting people here and we have our monthly meeting and I always look forward to them, And what I love is that despite the age differences, we have a common hobby that we like, and that brings us together. And in this time of, political mayhem that is happening, I think that's quite unique, and I love that. Yeah, and the third thing is yarns. So I remember when I started knitting, for me there were actually only two kinds of yarns. So there was wool, there was cotton, and my aunt one day, she knitted this beautiful mohair, but it was like enormously expensive. I would never have been able to buy it. And the wool was always very scratchy and itchy, and as a kid, I didn't like it very much. And cotton, well, we all know what cotton is. Cotton is great, but it has some flaws. Holding it's quite heavy, etc. So I feel that there wasn't that much choices, and there was less choice, and it was local, which, while I think it's important to support local yarn makers, creators, it reduces what you get. And it was a time when acrylic yarn started, and I didn't like them either. I already knew then that I don't like synthetic yarns. So this hasn't changed. But what I like is the variety of yarns that I get, the opportunity that I get to see what is available, and there is something for everyone. So if you're vegan, you can go, and there's lyocell, and there is silk, and well, depending on silk, obviously, cotton. There are amazing yarns. There are amazing dyed yarns, and this is made available through, of course, the internet. I also like the fact that we have more clarity about how, is it how the animals are kept? Is it ethical to buy that yarn? Where there are local yarns, enabling you to really focus on those. I think the quality also has improved of the yarn that is available because there is more choice. The price, I would say there are still cheap ones that are not acrylic. So I'm thinking of drops, of course. Drop yarns is amazing. And there are some, you know, you have to look for them. Lana Grossa also has some good cheaper yarns, and then you can go up, you know, Pasquale and you name them. There is a broad range, and I feel that you can always find something based on the budget that you have, which I think is amazing. I don't think we had that choice earlier. So the fact that we are much more global is something that I love about modern knitting. And even if I complained about the way patterns are written and that they're always top down, I have come to like knitting top down, even if I don't like, you know, the body islands and everything. But I love the fact that once you're done, you're done. And I've learned so much through this very modern sharing community that is emerging. And I know knitters were always sharing, but because the community was smaller, it was restricted to the people around you. So my grandma, my mother, my knitting teacher, etc. So I think basically what that I'm telling you, they're both great. Vintage knitting is great. Modern knitting is great. Do whatever you want. I love both. I take the best of both worlds, and that's what I would recommend for you. And I don't know what you think about it. If you have your own opinion, let me know underneath. If you like this content, please give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't done so, subscribe to my channel. Bye bye, take care, and see you next time.